This is part 2 of the two-part RCA training, root cause analysis training. You need to watch part 1 before watching this video, and also the training that I published earlier on design control, so you can fully benefit from the training. In the medical device industry, a product failure is more than a quality issue. It is a direct risk to patient safety. Working as a product development engineer years ago, I would go see patients to understand how to design for manufacturability and usability. That's when root cause analysis made all the difference for me. My experience has been a closed loop system also, as I worked in manufacturing, product development, quality, and regulatory, as well as in academia. So from practical experience point of view, I can tell you that fixing symptoms only guarantees that the problems will come back. This training moves beyond basic troubleshooting to provide a rigorous, risk-based approach to problem solving. While part 1 introduced fundamental RCA concepts, root cause analysis concepts, and some root cause analysis tools, this video reviews the top 2 investigation tools, provides real-world examples, and highlights common mistakes that lead to ineffective investigations. Let's dive into it. In your toolkit, the RCA toolkit, you have different tools to choose from. And as we discussed earlier, it depends on the complexity of the problem and the skill sets of the team. In this video, we'll go over the top 2 investigation tools. We'll start with the 5-why analysis. The 5-why technique is used for relatively simple problems where the most likely root cause is singular or one. It's a great basic root cause analysis tool to start with. Let's do an exercise and then we'll come back and review a little bit more. In this 5-why example, we'll try to solve a simple problem. And the problem is Tom is injured. So the question is, why is Tom injured? And the answer is because he had a fall. So we need to ask a question to find the root cause. The question is, why did he fall? Because the floor was wet. So do you think that's the root cause? Because the floor was wet, so Tom fell? That is not the root cause, because we have to continue to ask questions until you get to the bottom of it. So the question would be, why was the floor wet? And that's revealing us another layer of answer, because there was a leaking valve. So do you think the leaking valve was the root cause? Let's ask again and find out. So why was the valve leaking? Because there was a seal failure. So the seal failed, and that's why the valve was leaking. So is that the root cause? Let's see if we can ask one more time. So why did the seal fail? So it wasn't maintained. Seal wasn't maintained. So there's a maintenance issue, a systemic issue that we are revealing through asking these questions. The technique says it's a 5-why technique, but the idea is to exhaust your questions until you reach the bottom or the root cause. When you reach there, you will most likely see a systemic issue. Most people will stop at level 1 and attribute wet floor to the root cause. So they would mop the floor, and then the problem would come back. And they would install some soaking mats, maybe. Later on, the problem would come back again. Why? Because the root cause wasn't fixed. So when the problem keeps coming back, you know the root cause wasn't identified and corrected at the root. Let's do another example in a different format so you get the point. The problem is an electronic mixture has stopped working. It was mixing some materials and it stopped working. So ask the question, why? What happened? The motor powering the mixture won't run. Okay, so it's the motor issue. Is that the root cause? But ask again, why did the motor stop working? A fuse broke. That's the answer you get. So there's a fuse related problem. So is that a root cause? You ask again, then why? The motor drew too much current. Now it's leading towards the root cause. So why, you ask again? You find out the motor was overloaded. Now you're getting real close to the root. Why was it overloaded? And then you get the answer. The material being mixed had a higher weight than the design limit or the specifications for the motor. So in other words, you're exceeding the limit of the specifications, exceeding the limit of the specifications of the motor. And that identifies the, in the equation that we reviewed before, y equals function of x, you just identified the x. Now to change y, or the outcome, which will be your solution, you have to identify the correct weight limit, have a factor of safety so you don't exceed the limit, and enforce the weight limit. Where you document the process, document the actions that you've taken, review and approve, and train others as needed for your internal system. The next root cause analysis tool that we'll review is known as the cause and effect or fishbone diagram. Use a fishbone or Ishikawa or cause and effect diagram when a problem is relatively complex and likely caused by a combination of X factors or root causes. The head of the fishbone is your why or the problem statement. To change Y, we have to identify the causes or the X factors responsible for Y, and that's shown on the left side, right here. So these are the bones. So for manufacturing environment, the left side is generally divided into 6 M's or categories of potential causes that we are going to review next. To make this process effective, make this root cause analysis effective, we need a cross-functional team with subject matter expert in different areas. Let's review the cause and effect diagram with a real-life complex problem. After a thorough review of the design control process, a company audit team concluded that the DHF, design history file, DMR, device master records, and risk management files were incomplete or inadequate. That sounds like a complex problem, isn't it? So a team of subject matter experts across product engineering, manufacturing, and quality and RQA, quality and regulatory, was assembled to conduct an RCA or root cause analysis. In the process of doing so, the team identified a number of causes or variables for each of these categories on the left. A problem of this scope triggers the CAPA system to address the issues from the root. Let's now go back and review our earlier question. Are any or both of these the root causes of the leaking hose complaint that we reviewed earlier? If you said neither, then you are correct. The unmelted plastic is a problem contributing to the leakage. However, what caused that uneven melt formation is what we need to find out. That is the root cause. And that is to be investigated by the extrusion process experts to identify the true root cause of the causes. So let's find out from them. In my years of leading product development, engineering, operations, quality, and regulatory, I have seen some incredibly smart people make the exact same mistakes during root cause analysis. Let's make sure you don't. Pitfall number one, operator error. Operator error is almost never a true root cause. If an operator made a mistake, it's usually because the procedure was ambiguous, the training was inadequate, or the work instruction ergonomics were poorly designed. And ask why the operator made the mistakes. Ask yourself these questions. Pitfall number two, jumping to conclusions without data, without analysis. Just because you have some knowledge of something happened in the past, that doesn't mean the root cause is the same this time. Your knowledge might be helpful, but you realize that, use that to find the true root cause. Let the data guide you, not your assumptions. Pitfall number three, overcomplicating the fix. The most effective corrective actions are often the simplest. Mistake proofing or poke is your best friend in medical device manufacturing a lot of times. Can you design the fixture so it only works in one way? That's better than writing a 10-page instruction manual. Remember this. Always design has to be the first preference, the first way, the first choice of fixing an issue. Whether you're an engineer working on design controls, a technician on the manufacturing floor, or a manager reviewing quality data, RCA is your responsibility. It bridges the gap between what you do and how safely our devices perform in the field. I've been in the industry for many years in product development, in engineering, in manufacturing, in quality and regulatory. I went all around and spent a lot of time in design and development and design control. I have products here in the USA, in Europe, all over. The last time I was the vice president of quality and regulatory, serving 140 countries. So I've been there, I've done that. Everything that I talked about here is what I have done as a product development engineer. And then I applied in everywhere I went and every role that I've taken. And I'm known for solving complex problems. And this is one of the reasons. And that's why I started to publish different videos to help others. And if you need any help, my contact information in the description below. Have a nice day. I'll see you next time.